I could not be more excited to be working alongside you than I am tonight. We're working through the early foundations of algebra, and tonight we're ready to jump into chapter 2. And this is what we're going to call lesson 1. We're going to introduce you to the coordinate plane and talk about some ordered pairs and just get really comfortable plotting these points and identifying them. So what we've got is this fancy phrase, Cartesian plane. It's just a really fancy word for saying, basically a piece of, a rectangular piece of graph paper that you're more accustomed to. And basically we use this rectangular plane to graph points, lines, and ultimately any graph that you can dream of. The horizontal axis here, which would be this one, is called the x-axis. And the vertical axis right here is called the y-axis. And what these do, these two axes are perpendicular to each other, meaning they make a right angle right here. They're perpendicular. And they intersect at something called the origin. And the ordered pair of the origin is called 0, 0. The x-coordinate 0, as well as the y-coordinate is 0. Now, these axes create 4 different quadrants. Okay, they create 4 different quadrants. And we'll get into those here in just a second. We'll talk about those specifically. Or actually, you know what? Let's do that right now. So you've got quadrant 1 in the upper right-hand corner. And then from there, we're going to move counterclockwise to quadrant 2. Continue to move counterclockwise to quadrant 3. Going counterclockwise here to quadrant 4. And then it'll take you back to quadrant 1. Now, you're probably wondering, why in the world is the upper right-hand corner the first quadrant? Well, what's really special about that quadrant is that both the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate are both positive. So that's the most favorable quadrant to be in. So that became quadrant 1. Now, as far as the ordered pairs, the format is always going to be this x comma y. So the first number is going to be the x-coordinate, and the second number is always going to be the y-coordinate no matter what. And these ordered pairs are used to indicate the location of a point on this plane. Now, that x number is going to tell you how far to move on the horizontal axis. Now, a positive number is going to take you to the right. A negative number is going to take you to the left. And then similarly on the y value is going to tell you how far to move vertically. A positive number is going to take you up, and a negative number is going to take you down. Okay, let's look at a few. I think we're ready to tackle some examples, don't you think? All right, let's see here. Let's see if we can enlarge. All right, so let's say we want to graph the point 3, 2. So remember, the 3 is your x. I always like to write the x up there, and the 2 is going to be my y-coordinate. Now, because the 3 is positive, I'm going to move. Let's see. Maybe I'll start with my highlighter. I'm going to move 3 units to the right. And then because the 2 is positive, I'm going to go 2 units up. That's going to put me right there. So I'm going to plot this point right here, and I'm going to call that A. Okay. Now, they also want me to identify the quadrant that it lies in. And this is what we call quadrant number 1 because both values were positive. And a lot of times we use Roman numerals to denote that. Okay. The next point we're going to graph is point B. We've got a positive x value and a negative y value. So what I'm going to go is I'm going to go to the right 2. From there, I'm going to go down 5. And that is going to be point B. And we are in quadrant 4, which is a fun Roman numeral. It's like an I and a V. So there's quadrant 4. If you want to just use a regular 4, I'm sure that would be acceptable. Okay. All right. The next one, let's take a look at point C here. We've got a -4 and a -2. So I'm going to go left 4 and then down 2. All right. Let's go left 4, down 2. Boom. Right there it is. So let's try. We'll label this point right here. We're going to call that point C. And this is quadrant number 3. So it's 3 lines, 3 eyes like that. And then last but not least, let's see, we've got point D. So we're going to go left 1, up 4. We're going to go left 1, up 4. Bingo. And let's go ahead and put a point right there. So we call that D. And this is considered quadrant 2. All right. Now we're going to flip the script just a little bit, and they're going to have the points already plotted for us, and we're going to try to identify their ordered pairs, or sometimes we'll just say identify their coordinates. All right, so I'm going to start with this bear right here in the first quadrant, and starting at the origin, we had to move, looks like 8 units to the right, and then we had to go up 3 units. So 8 and 3, we're going to say 8, comma 3. Remember, the x coordinate comes first, however far you moved side to side, and then however far you moved up or down is that second number. All right, let's see. Let's try this guy in the second quadrant. So first thing we're going to do is we got to go left 6 and then up 3. So let's call that -6, comma, +3. And again, this was first quadrant. If you're wanting to keep track, this is the second quadrant. This one here is going to be the third quadrant. We'll do that one next. And then this is the fourth quadrant. We'll do that one last. Okay. So let's try that third quadrant. It looks like I got to go to the left 3 and then down how far? It looks like 7. So let's go left 3, down 7. So both of those numbers are going to be negative this time. Hey, we got one more to go. We're cooking. Let's see. Looks like starting at the origin, I got to go to the right 4, and then I'm going to go down 5. So let's say right 4, down 5, +4, -5, and that's all there is to it. How great is that? And that's going to give you a really solid foundation moving forward as we get ready to start doing a bunch of graphing later in this chapter. We're going to talk a lot about linear equations and how to graph them. And there's a lot of different ways you can attack that. So hope that helped a little bit. Please hit subscribe below if you'd like to stay in the loop and be notified as soon as we post a new video as we work through this exciting topic on algebra.